Let's stick within the region, sticking with Uganda, where the Monetary Policy Committee of the bank today announced its decision to hold key lending rate at 10.25%, as headline inflation printed about 3.6% last month. The Central Bank Governor, Michael Atingo Ego, says the committee decided to maintain the policy rate as previous increases seems to have moderated inflationary pressures. Let's take more from his briefing.
The relative stability of the Ugandan shilling against the US dollar has benefited from the recent CBR increases and inflows from robust coffee exports owing to favorable international coffee prices. Uganda's inflation remains among the region's lowest, with an average of 3.2% in the 12 months to May 2024. Nonetheless, annual headline inflation rose to 3.6% in May 2024 from 3.2% in April 2024, while core increased to 3.7% from 3.5%. The inflation uptick is primarily driven by rising healthcare, education, and transportation service costs, coupled with higher prices for solid and liquid fuels. Services inflation has climbed to 6.2% from 5.4%. Similarly, electricity, fuel, and utilities inflation has risen to 9.5% from 7.4%, reflecting recent increases in international energy prices and the lagged effects of the shilling's past depreciation. However, tight monetary conditions, declining global inflation, and a favorable domestic food supply have partially offset inflationary pressures. Looking ahead, inflation in FY 2024/25 is projected to remain moderate, broadly reflecting stable demand conditions and contained cost pressures. The inflation forecast has been slightly revised downwards relative to the April 2024 round, largely due to a less depreciated shilling exchange rate. Inflation is expected to rise an average between 5% and 5.4% in the short term, that is 12 months ahead, before stabilizing around the medium-term target of 5% in the second half of 2025. Uncertainties persist around the inflation outlook, including the potential impacts of an escalation in the ongoing geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, possible energy price hikes, and favorable weather patterns affecting food supply and production capacity pressures. Materialization of these risks could imply stronger inflationary pressures. Additionally, persistent global inflation and higher interest rates could cause heightened volatility in capital flows and the exchange rate, resulting in higher domestic inflation than currently assumed. Conversely, inflation may undershoot projections if monetary policy reduces demand more than anticipated, or global demand weakens further, resulting in lower imported inflation. Although the Ugandan economy remains resilient, recent economic indicators have been mixed but consistent with growth that's projected at 6% in financial year 2023/24. Indeed, the Composite Index of Economic Activity, CIEA, suggests a slowdown, with growth at 0.9% quarter-on-quarter and 5.3% year-on-year in the quarter to April 2024. Nevertheless, economic growth for financial year 2024/25 is projected between 6% and 6.5%, rising above 7% in the subsequent years. However, risks to the growth outlook remain. Uncertainty about the global economic situation and a stronger shilling depreciation could weigh on domestic demand. Private sector credit growth could weaken further due to tighter domestic financing conditions, resulting in lower demand. External factors such as a weaker global economy and escalating geopolitical conflicts could further impede growth through supply chain disruptions, higher freight costs, and reduced export demand. Furthermore, like several other countries, Uganda faces decreased capital flows, headwinds to export growth, and heavy external financing, partly due to rising global interest rates. This, combined with the debt support, has resulted in declining international forex reserves. Coupled with concerns over debt affordability and constrained financing options, this has led to a downgrade of the country's sovereign credit rating, though with a stable outlook, reaffirming that these challenges are only short-term. Going forward, rebuilding international reserves will require increased coordination of monetary and fiscal policies. On a positive note, more favorable weather conditions leading to good food crop harvests and private sector investment in the extractive industry and government intervention programs could boost economic activity. MPC assessed that while near-term balance of risks around inflation remains skewed to the upside, the current monetary conditions are adequate to contain inflation around the medium-term target of 5%.